Hey, so guys, I'm just going to walk you through the steps how we're going to go do this. It's the same as every project. Basically what I've done is I've kind of walked around, we figured out our plan, and all I've done is I've taken all my lights out of the boxes and I'm going and I'm just setting them all around the property so that I can do a proper count and also to figure out my wattage and how big a transformer I'm going to need. Now, I have most of that already figured out, but I always want to double check because I just walked around with the homeowner and we said, you know what, we're going to add a light here, we're going to add a light here, we're going to take one out here, we're going to take one out there. So now I just want to go get them all out there so I know exactly what I'm dealing with. Now I can figure out my total wattage and I can go and calculate what size transformer I need, and I can go and get those in place. I'm going to go place those by the GFCI receptacles that I need so that once I've got all my lights placed, which is the next step, I'm going to go and actually take my little shovel, my mallet. I'm going to go place those lights where I think they're going to look best. Then the next step after that is I'm going to run out all my wire back to the transformer so I kind of have a path of where it's going, how much wire I'm going to need, and again to make sure I can size that transformer properly. From there, once I've got all my lights, all my wire laid out, that's when I go and I start hooking everything up, and I'm going to go start wiring all my lights in. And then from there, I'm going to set up my transformer, I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to wire them in, and I'm going to make sure all the lights are working before I go and bury anything. And then the last step after I come back tonight, because that's one thing that any good landscape lighting designer, especially if it's your first time, you're kind of do-it-yourself guy, you want to come back at night before you finalize everything and just make sure all your lights are in the right position and pointed where you need them to. That's why we always leave a little extra wire at every single light so that if you need to move it 6 feet here, 2 inches here, or whatever it might be, you have that extra room. So before you bury anything, go and test those lights, flick on your transformer, make sure they're working, come back at night, and then once you've got everything exactly where you want it, that's where the final step is. You come back, you bury all your wire. So that's the stages we're at right now. So I'm gonna go and get all those lights placed, then I'll show you guys some more details from there. Hey guys, so like I talk about in all my videos, the first step is I'm just gonna go place the lights. I've laid them out around the property. Now I just want to dig them in and get them set so that I can come around and wire them. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to select my positioning, roughly where I want that light. I'm going to dig a small hole, but I want it to be big enough that I can fit extra wire in. Like I said, when I come back at night, I might want to move this by a foot or two. So I want to have enough extra wire to do that. So I'm going to dig a hole big enough for that. I'm going to take my ground stake, place that in the ground, and then I'm just going to hammer it in with my rubber mallet just because I want to give it a little bit more security and keep it nice and stable. So I always do that, and that's all I'm doing at this stage. I'm just going to place them, get them secure so I can come around and wire them all up, and that's the first step. Hey guys, we're getting pretty close to getting wrapped up this project. We've got all our lights in, so basically, you know, our first step was we took a design and we went and chose all our lights. What was cool about this one is, you know, this is a client who actually had emailed in pictures for a free consultation, and because it was on Vancouver Island, we were able to do it. So we looked through all his pictures, we gave him some recommendations, and then we gave him a price to actually install it, which is not always the case because some of you guys are far away. I wish we could, but we just can't. But what was cool is then we got on site, and a lot of what we had determined from the pictures were very accurate. So we already had a pretty good idea of what we were going to do, how many lights, and we're able to size the transformers beforehand. But sometimes, and is often the case, we get on site and there's some things we want to add or some things we want to take away. So so that's how we go and then determine our transformers. So we'll always try and determine that based on a design. But the key is just leave it a little bit bigger if you're not sure, because you always want to make sure you have enough room. And if you're using an LED system, it's not as crucial that you get it the exact transformer as when you had a halogen system. With a halogen system, you had transformers that had multiple taps, and you really had to be careful that you were getting the right voltage to the right lamps, or you were just going to burn them out a lot quicker. But if you're getting an LED system, a lot of times you'll see on the box it'll say that your LED is usually rated from 9 volts all the way to 15 volts, which means it's going to operate within that range, whereas halogens was usually between 11 and 12, so you really had to do your math. With LED, that eliminates a lot of that. So a general rule of thumb, and if you have more questions about sizing your transformer and voltage drop and all that, go to YouTube and just search Lighting Doctor voltage drop. There's a video where I go into a lot of detail and show you a chart and everything. But general rule of thumb, on 300 feet of wire, you can put up to 100 watts and not really have any voltage drop issues, as long as you're using a larger transformer like this that has a 15 volt tap, which means you're starting at 15 volts and all the way down the line you might get down to 10 volts, but that's still going to run that light and it's still going to be as bright as it should, because that bulb is rated from 9 to 15 volts. Again, assuming it's a good one. That's why we always say not all products are created equal, so you have to do some due diligence there. We do a lot of that in our kits, but just buyer beware. So basically it's really simple to go and size your transformers. You take all your lights, you add up all the wattage of all the lights. So if you have a bunch of 5 watt up lights and you've got let's call it 20 of them, well that comes out to 100 watts. But you want to size that transformer a little bit larger, because depending on the efficiency of that bulb, the more efficient it is, the closer that actual wattage is going to be to 5 watts. But the least efficient or the lesser efficient bulbs are going to sometimes be almost 10 watts, even though the box says 10 watts, and that's something called their actual, it's called their VA, their actual wattage. So you got to be careful about that. That's why I always say size it a little bit more. But general rule of thumb, add up all your lights, and then size your transformer 20, 30, 40% more than that. If you don't want to have to worry about voltage drop, get a good transformer that has a 15 volt tap, and you can run 100 watts on 300 feet of line without running into that issue of losing any brightness at the end of the line. But that's basically it when it comes to a transformer. The only other thing I was going to mention is the timer options. Now, you see a lot of the dinosaur looking timers where it's this little digital or this little analog wheel that you got all these little tabs you got to stick out. They got these different digital timers that you got to be a rocket science to operate. The nice thing is that a transformer like this, we use one of these. It's from Wion. It's a Wi-Fi timer, but basically there's dozens of these on the market, and if you have a smart home system, have a look if they already have an outdoor plug, because that's all this is. It's basically a Wi-Fi plug for outdoors, and all you have to do is, now when you go plug this transformer into your GFCI receptacle, all you're going to do is you're going to flip this into the on position. So you're just going to leave your transformer in all the time. But this little thing here, where usually you would have a photocell, which again I highly recommend against, because photocells just fail all the time. You have to have your transformer in the right position, because if it's in a dark shaded position, your lights are going to be on all the time. So all those kinds of things. But to get back to it, basically where it says to plug in your timer or your photocell or whatever, all you have to do is unplug that, plug in your Wi-Fi plug, whether that be this one or whether that be one based on the smart home system you have. Go and plug it into there, and then you plug this guy into your plug-in, and then you just close that up, leave it in the on position, and then you can go and operate everything from your Wi-Fi plug. And usually most of these, you don't need a hub anymore. They have their own app, so you can just go download it, and it usually walks you through how to do that in 2 or 3 steps, and all of a sudden now you have a Wi-Fi landscape lighting system, but you haven't paid tons and tons of money for it. Another thing that we do a lot of times, because I get asked all the time, well, in my front yard and my backyard, I want to be able to zone them different so I can turn them on at different times, kind of like a sprinkler system. There is some really good systems that are out there that do that. They tend to be quite costly. They're great systems, but it depends on your budget. If you don't want to do that and spend that kind of money on a system, just go and use a separate transformer. In this case, on this project, that's what we're doing. We've got one of these for the backyard and one for the front. Luckily, because we have this timer, we can run both those controllers on the exact same app and set them up with totally different schedules, which is what's cool about going and adding something like this to your transformers. And it doesn't have to be this one. It can be basically any outdoor Wi-Fi plug that you go plug into here is going to work. So make your life a lot easier. Turn your transformer into a Wi-Fi system, go and size it properly, be safe, build it, select it larger in case you want to add on down the road too. So hopefully that helps answer your transformer questions. But like I said, if you need more definition on voltage drop and stuff, go to YouTube and search voltage drop lighting doctor, and I guarantee you'll find something. Hey guys, I'm going to try and do this quick here. We're just wrapping up, but I wanted to show you a couple ideas. And nighttime pictures never quite do it justice, but a couple things that we did on this project that I'm really excited about is, if you notice this nice gate feature we have behind us here, we actually used just our regular uplights on both pillars of the gate, just to highlight that area. Instead of just having some path lights that highlight the walkway that I'm standing on right now, we really wanted to take advantage of the cool archway there. So we just lit that up with some cool accent lights. But one thing we did do, and I've talked about this lots, is anytime you have an area where you're going to be kind of walking in and out, you don't want those lights shining in your eyes, so hex baffles. We put those on a lot of areas where you might get some glare in your eyes. That little honeycomb shaped filter that fits over the lens, it's only a couple extra bucks, but it's well worth it if you've got an area where you have a light close to close to a walkway here area. Hey guys, I just wanted to show you this real quick. If you see here, we got this bed area, and this was an area that was totally isolated, that we couldn't get wire to really. We got this nice, beautiful brick walkway here, but we're out on Vancouver Island where it is an island, most of it's rock, and there's just no way we could tunnel underneath that sidewalk without going super deep and totally messing up the gardens. So what we did is, if you see behind me here, on this bush that goes up and then across the doorway here and then back down, what we did is we actually used the gutter, and we actually ran wire up the gutter, over the doorway, and down into this bed here, and we were easily able to do that. And now we didn't have to tear up the whole garden, but we can get power here and still keep all our lights on the same transformer. So sometimes you got to be a little creative with how you get wire to different areas, but there's always a way. And you'd never even know that that wire's there, because where we came back down in the bed is right behind a trellis that we ended up highlighting and featuring anyway, that you guys can't tell from the video, but I can see it's starting to look really good. So I'm glad we lit that up, and that wire's totally hidden, so you'd have no idea how we got that wire there. So sometimes you got to be a little creative. You don't always have to go under the sidewalk, so think of alternative ways. Hey guys, so something else we did on this project, and you might not see it the best, but we got this beautiful pond here. It almost looks like grass because it's all grown in with lilies and stuff, so it looks really cool. We wanted to definitely feature that, this nice patio area that they have. So we did get some path lights kind of in the back there along the house, which are starting to look real good. We've got one really nice feature tree here behind the pond, and that's directly where they're looking out from their kitchen table. So we wanted to make sure we highlight that. So we actually used two on that one, again, because it's a big wide tree. We wanted to get two angles and two lights to really catch as much of that canopy as possible, and that's our featured tree. So I would rather focus more lights on a featured tree like that than trying to put a whole bunch of lights around the whole area. Something else we did is with our path lights, because we wanted to cast some water down on that pond, we did put a couple of those in some kind of cool waterfall areas that are going to cast that light down on that pond, define the edges of the sitting area, and make this look really good too. So some path lights, some simple up lights, again, 2-3 kinds of lights we use all the time, but you can do so many different things with them. Hey guys, I'm going to try and do this real quick because we've got a lot of drive traffic here, but this is why we light up pillars. We got a couple in-ground lights that are lighting this entryway, and they look really good. So I mean, anytime you got an entryway, whether it be to your home or to your driveway, I think you're doing it a huge disservice if you don't get some lights in there. I like the in-ground lights too, because they start right at the base, so they light that whole thing up from top to bottom. So something to consider anytime you got a nice entryway is definitely use those in-ground lights. Hey guys, the last area I want to talk about again is this driveway area. Now I know you can't tell with the camera, and the camera never does a real good job of nighttime pictures, but The sun is just starting to go down, and this area is starting to look so cool because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down lights way up high, 25 feet up in those trees on some arbutus trees and some pine trees and some cedar trees. And we've got them shining through some of the foliage and some of the branches, so we're getting kind of that shadowing effect on the ground, that moonlight. Same kind of effect you get from the sun shining through them in the daytime, and you get all the shadowing patterns on the ground. Now we've created that at night, just with some simple downlighting. And I talked a little bit about that, how to easily mount those with some tree stakes, using zip ties with screw holes, all those kinds of simple little things from this video that can help you totally elevate your project, because there's not that many guys who are doing downlighting. Yes, it takes more time and more effort, probably twice as long, if not 3 times as long than it does for something on the ground, but the effect is so worth it. Hey guys, so we've pretty much wrapped up our project. I hope you guys have enjoyed that and found these videos helpful. And again, landscape lighting is not that tough. I think anybody can do it. There's just a couple simple steps. I mean, obviously, get your design, figure out what you want. If you need help with that, that's why we do our free consultations. Just email me some pictures and I can help you find out what's going to work best on your property. We have our try it before you buy a light, where basically you can buy 1 or 2 fixtures, go plug them into a battery pack, walk around the property and see what's going to look good. So that's another tool to help you come up with the design. Once you got the design, you got your lights, then you just go and you set them around the property, go and place them, start placing them, get a rubber mallet, do that, run your wire, leave extra wire as much as possible, because you never know when you're gonna make mistakes or want to add on down the road. Go and make your wiring connections. Just be sure you have those 2 properties that we talked about, waterproofing and that mechanical connection, so they don't pull apart. Once you got them wired, go and set up your transformer, hook everything up, and go and test those lights. Fire it on, make sure they're all working before you go and bury everything. And my suggestion, especially if you haven't done this before, is come back that first night before you go and bury everything. Make sure you have all the lights where you want them placed. Make sure you're getting the look that you want, and once you do that, then come back the next day and bury all your wire. There's all kinds of other videos that we have on YouTube for how to bury the landscape lighting wire, how to tunnel under sidewalks, and so much more. If you have any questions about how to install your own landscape lighting, just go to YouTube and search lighting doctor, how to, whatever, and I guarantee you'll find it. So I hope you guys find that helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to get your free consultation and send me your pictures at cal@lightingdoctor.ca.